see.
We need a flashy intro.
We do need a flashy intro. And speaking of, welcome everyone to another episode of the Clout Goblins. I, Flagrant Triggers. My co-host is Mr. Crash Mondo Jr. And we're going to try to get all the internet glory and fame and build it all up until we can afford like a mid-sized sedan. I'll consider ourselves successful. I know, man. I know. Or if we can regularly pull at least fours, then we'll be good to go.
I'd be happy with that.
All right. As always, guys, you can swing by Flagrant Triggers, get your sweet ass merch. Damn, that reminds me, I need to do Force Mommy's graphic for her stuff.
Get on it.
Yeah, I got to get on it. Which it shouldn't be too difficult for the first one. We'll get that going, get it sent to her, get some approval. Crash, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Got in a lot of miles last week running because I love running. Weather's been great. Yeah, I'm just chilling.
Yeah, weather's been getting pretty nice here in the 60s and 70s. So I know that's like wintertime weather for you, but
yeah, sick. Oof.
yeah. So guys, we got a couple things we're going to talk about this evening. The Fauci files. Definitely be getting into that, but we're going to take that to Rumble after we talk about some of the other stuff, because you know how the generous overlords at YouTube are. They are very understanding, and the vaccines are 100% safe, effective, and as Jimmy Dore says, heart swells with pride from all the proudness of vaccinating myself. First,
swells. You could have just stopped there.
Yeah. Well, you know, with pride, YouTube, with pride. I guess we'll get into Landau and Crowder first, because, yeah, Steven Crowder, apparently he's a dick. And for those of you who don't know Crowder or anything like that, Crowder, he's a Canadian, came down to America. He worked for Fox for a while, worked for The Blaze, and now he's on his own, and he's got Louder with Crowder. That's his big podcast. And Dave, who used to work for Anthony Cumia on his show, came down and started working for him in 2021. And Dave is a really fucking good comic. A lot of people got introduced to Dave because of Crowder. And this one thing I question about how the entertainment industry is Dave is a fucking hilarious comic. He's got chops. He's very quick-witted. And why does it take getting on shows like Crowder's to get these people any attention? And it makes me question how the gatekeeping really is in the entertainment industry. Like, if you're not pushing this narrative, you're probably not going to get anywhere. Which is shitty because, again, Dave is hilarious. But yeah, he talked about when he left Crowder at the end of last year, and he proved Steven Crowder to be a pretty fucking big hypocrite, because if anyone kept up with it, Crowder had this big feud with Daily Wire over their contracts, saying that the contract punishes him, and if everything goes wrong, he would end up having to pay the Daily Wire instead of making money from them, if he got banned on YouTube and stuff like that. And he preached about how we shouldn't punish creators or talents or anything like that for frivolous stuff, because it just supports the leftist narrative and cancel machine and keeps the big social media companies on top and lets them continue to push their agendas. Well,
I'm gonna say, I want to interject here because, I just want to put out there that that entire statement I disagree with, because with Crowder's assessment, because the social media tech companies, they're punishing somebody either way. All that contract does is who is bearing the loss.
Yeah.
And it was never going to be. It wasn't going to ever. I don't think it was ever going to be Crowder bearing 100% of the loss if he got banned off of YouTube and blocked from from advertisers, people who bought ads from Daily Wire.
Yeah, it was it was more of the cost of the contract. Like he would lose money for getting demonetized, which wouldn't have been his option, like decision. It would have been on YouTube, but YouTube's always been gunning for him. But yeah, Steve made a big deal about it, saying it's like it's unfair, especially new creators who are trying to build up something, and we should give these guys a break. And well, then Landau this past week went on Michael Malice's show, and he pulled out this steaming pile of shit that is the contract he had with Crowder, or the new one they tried to get him to sign at the end of last year. And it makes what Crowder was talking about look like a fucking walk in the park, because this literally was specifically tailored to keep Dave in check, basically. And like this time policy is pulled up right now. So this was Dave's situation. David's a stand-up comic. He does shows on the road all the time. Weekends are the times when most stand-up comics go out and make their money, because that's when most people are off. It's when most people want to go have fun. They spend money, they get drinks, and they want to laugh. And Crowder knew this. And at first, it was okay. But doing all that travel, he wrote for the show as well. He didn't always know exactly when he had to write a bit. So he was basically a 24-hour employee, but also had to adhere to almost a 9-to-5 type schedule through the week. And
he didn't even live in that town. So he was traveling a lot.
Yeah, his fame,
not just for his tour, but also just to get to the show.
Yeah, so he's flying to where is he at? Houston, or is it Austin?
I think they're in Austin, I want to say, but don't quote me on that.
Well, so Crowder's in Texas. Dave and his family, they live in Detroit, and then Dave's also traveling around the United States during the weekends. Dave had one time where he did not make show call. That's because he accidentally messed up the alarm clock on his phone and set it for PM instead of AM. And he fell asleep. He nodded off during the show one time because I think he caught like a 2 a.m. flight or something like that. Like, it was a fucking red eye, and it was straight from the airport to the show, and he wore the fuck out because he'd been traveling all weekend. He was out of town and everything. So they put in this time policy where if he was 5 minutes late, he had to turn right back around, go home, get his pay docked for that day, which came out of his salary on the contract. Crowder wanted him to only do weekend tour dates every 6 weeks. So every second, third weekend, he could go out and tour. The rest of the weekends, he had to stay in Austin and be close to the show.
That is a weird way to state it. Every second, third weekend?
Mm.
Why not just say every 6? It's every 6 weeks, so why not just say every 6th weekend?
I don't know. That's weird. It seems like Millie Mouth. It doesn't sound quite as bad as you have to wait every 6 weeks to go do your stand-up dates.
Yeah, that's just that's like scumbaggy, like lawyer writing there, where
yeah, it really
you're trying to pass one over. They'll read every third weekend. They'll miss the other words, and then when they try to get an extra date, or that they can leave because they think they're entitled to it, and then they're gonna be like, no, your contract says every other third weekend.
Yeah. Yeah,
Golly.
it's just a bunch of, it's just another way of saying that it's every 6 weeks and you can't go anywhere. And along with that, Dave had to move his family down from Detroit to Texas by October 14th or something. I think it was October or something. Promotions, and you can see this like toward the bottom of the screen. Company agrees to promote the dates of the contractor's independent business of stand-up comedy appearances once a week at a time and in a medium of the company's discretion. So, and I got into a pretty lengthy bullshit argument on Twitter with a couple of people, and Dave pointed this out. Whenever he started at Crowder was promoting the shit out of him, out of his stand-up dates on the weekends. And if you watch, like, it was around summertime of last year, it slowed down a whole lot. Now, the Rebels with a Cause tour, which Steven was on, got promoted every day. Dave's dates, though, were not mentioned anywhere near as much. And that was a whole bullshit scandal in itself, because Dave wanted to do a special. He bought the equipment, he set up the theater, he started selling tickets, and Crowder asked him to join because he wanted to get back into stand-up. And he asked Dave if he could come. He'll promote the special, and asked Dave if he would write for him a little bit to help him break back in and knock the rust off. And the deal was Dave got the gate for helping Crowder pick it back up and get to go do the show. One of Dave's buddies opened. Standing ovation. Killed. It was Matt McClowry. Yes, exactly, Robert. Or that boss who wants you to stay busy even if you don't have any work to do.
That's the worst. Or, I mean, if you look at the extended hours, he had to be there 7:45 to 3:45.
Yeah.
And just present. It had nothing to do with work. It's the most annoying thing about big corporate culture is just your presence being being within their line of sight, basically, in a cubicle as much as possible.
I had to deal with this shit whenever I worked at a manufacturing place, because I would be done with I was over a department, and it was just me. Like, I just handled that what that department specifically did, and I would be done in like 3 or 4 hours. And then some of the other people from the other department saw that I was done and I was not really doing anything. So what they do? They went and told their supervisor, who went and told my supervisor, and my supervisor made me go help them. And that, like, shit like that annoys me, because you shouldn't put more work on your best workers, because that's going to disenfranchise them from wanting to do a better job.
Yeah, nobody wants to work hard when they know that finishing a project early means that they're just going to. That means in their boss's mind, you just don't have enough workload. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't properly load your workers, but appropriateness of that is a balance. You know, you don't want to overload them either and burn them out.
Yeah. Hold on once. Ah, damn it.
And also, like, if somebody is also just getting more done, as opposed to like the rest of a team or a department, you know, that should be recognized. You know, I think the best would be monetarily, but like there should be something there for the worker, as opposed to just like, here's more work, no extra pay. You know?
Yeah. Well, and that right there was a really big thing about it too.
Yeah.
Dave's new contract had no increase in pay at all. it was the same salary. And not only did he have to be there from like 7 to 3 or 4 in the mornings, Monday through Thursday, he wanted him to have, he had to write for his own show and have his own show ready for Fridays. And he couldn't leave until 5. So Fridays was 9 to 5. So when he gets done with the show that he's writing for, hosting and all that, he still has to stay to do bullshit writing work. And so going back to the special, Dave did the special, Matt McClowry opened, killed, and Crowder couldn't make a Monday show. Dave asked Crowder if Matt could come in and co-host with him. Crowder said yes. And I think that was on a Friday or Saturday. The next day, Dave got a text from the showrunner saying Matt can't come on. Like no reason why, nothing like that. And even after Dave told the showrunner, well, Crowder already said he could. And he's like, oh, well, I must be getting mixed messages. And he texted Crowder like, hey, I thought it was cool if Matt came on to co-host. And he said, Steven was like, well, what's done is done. And then Crowder called him, and this is when the infamous I own you, literally told Landau that I own you, and asked him if he wanted to be part of the show still, and Dave was like, no, not really. So that's when things started falling apart. And there are some diehard Crowder. And look, Crowder busted his ass for what he's got. He does good work. But after Contract Gate with the Daily Wire talking about the shit contracts, and then Dave pulling this out and showing us that it was a literal excoriation of Dave, specifically tailored to punish him in every little way possible with no extra pay. It's an extremely hypocritical move. And it really made me not want to watch Crowder anymore. And it really points out to me, like, people in this entertainment commentator personality culture, man, a lot of them don't give a fuck about anyone but themselves. And it's like, it makes you question about that line between friendship and business too.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Steven's show, he's done real good. He does point out a lot of things that don't get covered. But
doesn't immunize you from legitimate criticism.
No, and
it doesn't give you a license to be a dick to anybody. Like, period.
And from what Dave was saying, like, he just got a bunch of yes men around him. So if you can't see what you're doing to people that you consider friends or good workers or good co-hosts or something like that, like, what the fuck are you doing? And I mean, I can even understand to a degree, like, it's Crowder's baby, it's his livelihood, it's what he made, and it's big. But if you cannot reflect on criticisms that you get from people you work with and who want you to succeed too, and who want to succeed along with you, you're in an echo chamber. Like, you are in a bubble. If you can't look at criticism, no matter how nasty it is, and at least be like, well, okay, maybe they're right on this part. Especially from someone who, like, because from everything I've heard, Dave is like, he's a really nice guy. When I met him in Greenville, he was really nice, and he had this drunk behemoth of a guy sitting there harassing the shit out of him because Dave roasted the living shit out of him for talking the whole time during his set. Like, he called him out, and just it was hilarious and sad at the same time. But yeah, Dave's, he didn't seem to be the real confrontational type just from that interaction. Like, he's got a guy sitting there drunk as shit, who's trying to justify his actions to him, and it's like, dude, go the fuck away, just get out of here. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people will see this and they'll be like, who gives a shit? And I mean, for the most part, yeah. And I mean, I get it, but it's just hypocritical after this bit, after contract gate that Crowder raised at the end of last year, and then he's doing the same, if not worse, shit to employees.
I haven't been able to find the tweets, but Not Gay Jarrett had posted some tweets. He had tweeted some things that were just, how do you say it, passive aggressive, because obviously he's under an NDA, so he can't say anything outright. But
and see, that's what I wonder too, because Quarter Black has never really said anything. I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that he's under an NDA.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because from internet rumors, and after what Dave said, yeah, Crowder's kind of an asshole. And I don't know, man. I mean, is that really what you have to become, though, once you get to that point to survive?
Well, not to survive, but to succeed, perhaps. I don't know. It's what they say, that people in powerful positions, they're all narcissists. It makes you wonder, is that a requirement? Can non-narcissists become, powerful in the sense of, like whether it's political or corporate?
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I don't really know any people personally that are of that level. I'd have to wonder. I wonder about Jeremy Boring and some of the others at the Daily Wire. Like,
because I mean, I found fault with Jeremy and them for what they did, because they know Crowder's a draw. Like, he is. He's going to bring numbers and people and subscriptions, no doubt. And even if it was just an initial, what do you call it, term sheet, like, still, why would you just go for the kneecaps right off the bat with someone who's supposed to be a friend or a good acquaintance who you're in the business with together? Like, I don't get. I mean, I can understand it if it's somebody you don't know and so you have to have reservations about it. But like, ideally, I would think you want to lift everyone up and you want to give everyone the breaks they deserve. And I get that. Like, I guess the caveat is there are people who will always take advantage of it. So,
I mean, I think it's more of a risk averse thing. I don't necessarily think it's like just them being overly cutthroat. I think when it comes to uncertainty of like what is Crowder going to bring in, I mean, it's a valid point that there's going to be some overlap between their audiences. There was a bit of uncertainty of what his true audience was in terms of the Mug Club. I know he made certain claims, but I think that they did struggles with verifying that, right? Because of his he didn't, with the terms with the Blaze, perhaps.
Yeah, he didn't have access to the subscription list or the email subscription list or something like that.
Right. Now, I mean, the Quartering actually did a good analysis on it, though, and broke down the numbers, and he said, like, even if Crowder's off by like 2/3, it's still a really low ball offer. And
yeah,
I'll give him some benefit of the doubt that maybe they just miscalculated, but at the same time, I don't know. It was definitely low ball by most people's opinions, just the overall number, just based on what people think Crowder's value really is.
Yeah, and I think Crowder lowballed himself to a degree just to be safe. When he was talking about it anyway. I'm sure he had, here's low end conservative, here's what it might actually be, or here's high end. But yeah, I don't know.
But here's where I will give Daily Wire credit. It's that when Brett Cooper talked about her experience with them, and they actually, before the end of her contract, I don't remember how long before it was, but they gave her a new offer. They gave her a pay bump because she was doing so well. Mm-hmm. They rewarded her success. And so I also have to think that, okay, maybe if they were underestimating just because they're afraid of the risk, and it is a lot of money, I do have a little bit of faith that I think they would have renegotiated just out of good faith. I mean, and I might be wrong about that. Maybe they are just really cutthroat because I don't know them personally. But Brett Cooper's story kind of helped me give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like I said, like it's one thing if it's someone who hasn't really been tested and proven over time, because Brett pretty relatively new to the podcasting and YouTube world.
Well, absolutely new. I think that was her first podcasting gig. I mean, she's not new to showbiz, but she came out of working out in Hollywood. So
because I think she'd only been doing her show for what, like 3 months or something.
Not sure.
Maybe 6. I think it was a couple months, and they picked her up. But then, you know, comparing that level of freshness to someone who has a massive following, sponsorships, and has been in the game for years and years, I don't understand the kneecapping right off the bat with that. That was my main complaint about the whole contract gate with Daily Wire. And but now, after seeing this shit with Landau and Crowder, I'm just gonna say everybody's a fucking asshole. And like, yeah, man.
In the end, we're all just clout goblins.
True. And money whores. We are money whores. Yeah, that's funny. Dave was talking about that. Yeah, that's the gist of Landau and Crowder. It's just, I don't know, man. That really painted Crowder in a new light for me. Like, now I don't see him as much as the friendly person he purports to be, because it seems like he's more worried about his money and running the ship the way he wants it, and it's got to be exact. And you know, he seems like more of that asshole boss who will crack down on you at the first chance he gets, you know. But I mean, it also seems like he does pay somewhat decent. I think maybe it's where he's conflating, like, maybe he has a huge separation between personal life and business life, and where like, off the show, not dealing with business, he's completely different. You know, like, he's super nice, really cordial and stuff, where when it comes to business, he's just a straight up dick. Because I mean, I know people like that, and to a degree in a supervisor position, because I was a supervisor for a while. You kind of have to have that, like, because there were some employees that I knew and I had friendly relationships with them, but you still have to, if they're dicking around and fucking off, like, you have to get them back on track to at least do the minimum requirements of their job.
Lauren Chen actually had a different thought on that, because she did a video on the contract gate, and what she had to say about Steven was that he actually intertwines his business and his personal life, so that's why he seems to take it personally. So my thought with how that relates to Dave Landau in this situation is that at some point, and that's the same thing with just contract gate in general. Like, it seems like if when you piss off Crowder, he seems to hold a grudge, and he takes it personally, whether even if it's just business, you know. That's so, like, even with the way that the contract negotiations went, you know, that was in like October, November, and then he plotted for like 2 months how to do this exposure. Like, now I know, he didn't out the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire came out, but at the same time, he had that recording Well, I guess he has all of his recordings, so maybe that's not as. I remember when.
Yeah, apparently he records everything. So.
Yeah, he just records everything, so that's not as stunning anymore.
But
God, is that just what you got to do? You just got to record everything.
I mean, it speaks a lot to either the kind of people that Crowder has dealt with, or just the way he was raised to approach it. Because he's either been really screwed over really hard and fucked over a whole lot, and he's paranoid about getting fucked over now, or he was just taught that when it comes to that aspect of his life, he has to be a ball buster, and he needs to do everything he can to try to get any advantage he can.
Recording comes from his time at Fox News. Interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would not doubt that. Well, all right. So that's that. Let's do a very smooth segue.
Very smooth.
Very
not
smooth.
Bumpy at all.
Not bumpy at all. There is an incredibly. Hold on a second. Let's go back to the great philosopher Andrew Tate. Question of the century, maybe. Megan Fox with a dick, or Hulk Hogan with a pussy. But dare I change that and say, would we rather have this hot tranny right here who's running in Colorado, according to her detractors? Yes. Old Forest Mommy. She's getting all the hate in Colorado. She's running for city council, and she's pissing people off.
She's pissing all the right people off. She said
really
that the tranny accusations came from people on the right. Like, wasn't even leftist.
All that says to me is she's pushing the right buttons and pissing people off because they don't want to answer the stuff she's pointing out. To where, like, the right, because I went to church as a kid, full of fucking hypocrites, and the right is extremely hypocritical especially when they're getting their ass kicked and they don't have a justification, or can't answer the things they're being questioned.
Yeah, the right has almost as much of a problem as the left does when it comes to things like having it, like just being stuck in an echo chamber, just reading headlines and relying on tweets for news, not doing actual research, relying on talking points, all of those things that we accuse the left of. It happens more often on the right than we call the right the non-left, because that's libertarians, conservatives, independents, centrists. But it definitely happens in all those spheres. I don't have any data to say like it's more one than the other, but it's enough to where you notice it from both sides.
Yeah. I mean, in general, we all have a lot more in common than we think, and there are actually fewer differences than everyone wants to make a big deal about. And hypocrisy is one of those things that is apparent in our nature, because people don't like admitting when they're wrong. Like, even if you're very honest and you do admit when you're wrong, it's still not the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, it's not fun.
But Forest Mommy, she's challenging these peoples, and she put out a tweet. When was this? Yesterday. I know people pay attention to federal stuff because it's easier and gets more clicks, but I challenge you, for every podcast you do on a federal issue, maybe do one on a local thing. Yes. This is what people should be talking about, and this is something that people should be doing, because she is 1000% correct that federal issues They get a lot of eyeballs, a lot of ears, because that's what the narrative machine wants you to focus on. Federal
Meanwhile, you're
gets
getting corrupt DAs slipping into different areas and corrupt city councilmen that are just screwing you much worse than what the federal government is doing. You're getting screwed the most at the local level.
Yep. And the more issues there are at the local level and the more people they get into the positions of power they want at the local level, the easier it is for them at the federal level to fuck you over too. Because if you don't have the states challenging the federal authority, then you don't have anyone challenging it. And unless you get a case that gets up to that federal level that can make a huge impact, which is extremely fucking rare, they're just going to keep dicking you down. And not in the fun way, in the 7 with the contraption way. If anyone gets that reference. Yes, I'm old, I know. But yeah, she's calling people out. And it's good. It is a good thing. And that's what needs to happen. People should be focused more on their local issues than their federal issues, because you need to be able to take care of your community and have. It's like the Jordan Peterson thing, like make your bed, take care of your home first. And this is where I think we should go back to everything should be community driven, with as little assistance from the outside as possible, and as little assistance from the state government as possible. Like, be self-sufficient in your home, on your street, in your city, in your county, and then work your way out from there. Because if you can take care of everything in your county and you're not having to depend on a bunch of other bullshit from other places, and you can stand up for yourself, then you can tackle these problems a lot easier.
Yeah, part of the problem is that a lot of your local officials are basically bought off by the higher level governments. Somewhat indirectly, right? Because of grant money, or just like the COVID money, like you brought up before at your school board.
Yeah,
like it becomes something that they don't want to give up, so they fall in line with the narrative. If we don't have that, then you have a chance of a city council or a local commissioner board saying, like, no, we're not enforcing this stupid lockdown. No, we're not enforcing your anti-2A new rule. And then that's what we need, is for more of that. And I would say even more so from sheriff's departments and police departments. Like we saw in COVID, we saw at least a few, not many, but there were a few sheriffs who said, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
It's more powerful than anything. Like, the federal government can't do anything. They're not going to send the FBI to or deploy the National Guard to bring a single county in line. And if more counties do it, I guess there's always just a chance if things got really severe. And yeah, that has happened in history, where the top government, will bear down on a little town. But most of the time they rely on local resources. They're overstretched as it is.
Well, not only that, but if you get these changes, like take your local laws, for example. Like personally, I believe a lot of laws are just to punish the law-abiding citizen, because the law-abiding citizen is the only one who gives a shit to pay for what the government considers their mistakes, like speeding tickets or parking tickets or your registration for your fucking car. Like, personally, all that shit to me is a fucking grift. It's just a way for them to milk money out of the taxpayer. And
yeah, they're already taxing you. Why do they need to charge you a fee as well for all this other crap?
Like, why does it cost $90 to get a fucking sticker put on your car, when all that information is digital now, and they literally just click a button? And then court costs are stupid. What's stupid high. because they got to pay all this fucking employees they keep hiring. They you gut some of these court systems, get it to because everything's getting digitized anyway. You get everything digitized and everything can be automated, and you don't need fucking 50 people to handle some records. And they've already, like, there aren't even stenographers in a lot of courts anymore, or your court recorders. People go in and shorthand all the testimony and stuff. You don't see that in a lot anymore, except for I'm guessing like big capital cases or federal cases. But yeah, it's ridiculous the amount of money. Like, it's a big bracket. Like, if it weren't for regular citizens paying for what they charge them for, then they would collapse overnight. But finding a way to get that changed is get your local government changed. Start there, and then those people can get into the state areas, and then they can start changing your state laws, and then worry about the federal stuff. Because ideally, your state will just handle anything that the federal's trying to do, because there's supposed to be a separation there.
Just look at things like marijuana legalization. It's still illegal federally. But what has happened, states have just asserted their rights. They said, no, we have the right to legalize this if we want. And so a lot of places do. And eventually the DEA just gave up on trying to enforce that. And now it's legalized in a lot of states.
Yeah. And well, like I'm trying to think of a correlate. Like, what are some of the big government agencies that are a waste of fucking money?
ATF.
Yeah, like
Department of Education. I can go on. SEC.
Oh, I mean, yeah, there are a bunch. I'm just trying to think, like, can the states interject and stop those organizations from interfering with citizens?
The ATF, yes, and this does happen on occasion, where or at least I've heard of it in Texas. A couple incidents where local sheriff's departments or local police arrested ATF agents. And that's actually what needs to happen. I would love to see that from my governor, Ron. I'd highly consider voting for you as president if you just gave us that. Like right now, you don't have my vote because you're really bad on guns and red flag laws. Despite, I will give you credit for the permitless carry. That was nice. Thank you for signing that. But we still have red flag laws here. It's terrible.
Tim Pool made a pretty good argument to Ron for a case, and he's like, because they're talking about all the trans stuff down there, and Tim's like, hey, arrest Jazz Jennings' mom, because she's literally on camera saying that she's assaulted her. And
I didn't realize she was in Florida.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't know where she was. I don't watch that show.
Yeah, it's like that. That's got to be torturous. Your mom wakes you up in the middle of the night and says, insert this medical device which dilates the wound we created on you when you were preteen, or I will do it. Like, that is, to me, that's felonious assault. And felonious grapes, if you will.
I mean, the entire thing is what's called Munchausen's by proxy. My opinion.
No, it's fucking narcissism to me.
Well, I mean, that is basically what they're related. Like you'll have people who, what Munchausen's is, right?
Yeah, it's where the parent says the kid is sick because they want the attention, or
right, or that's what the by proxy is. Like Munchausen's by itself is when you do it for yourself, but then by proxy is when you impose it on somebody else, and that happens most often with kids. And that's, I think, what's happening with a lot of these transgender cases.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the parents are.
It's a big virtue signal.
Yeah.
And or
then they're just
the,
reinforcing it because they're in their own echo chamber, and they're praising each other for the social transitions, and then getting them on puberty blockers and whatever else. They're like, yes, that's what you do. That's so there's no point. There's at no point somebody stopping them. Like the only ones who are like trying to stop them it's just people screaming online. Like, so like, but nobody pays attention to somebody tweeting at you.
Yeah, it's the circle of jerks right there is very strong and it is wound very tight. And yes, Force Mommy, we were, because we were talking about trans. And we all know that you're a transgender running in Colorado. At least that's what the detractors say, right? Yeah, we were talking about your challenge to creators, talking about their local stuff, and talking about how local is way more important than the federal bullshit, because we're not going to change the federal just by voting for a new person that might get in, because you've got 49 other states putting in a different asshole. So we're talking about how you got to make that difference in the local, so you can get more local people into the state to start changing the laws and the way things are ran. And then you worry about the national stuff, because ideally your state is the one who takes care of your state's business, and it keeps the federal from fucking with you. But yeah, like the trans stuff, like the one Ron, like, yeah, I think Ron should do that, because didn't they just pass the law where you can't do medical procedures? Is that right? Hold on.
I don't know. They've passed a lot of laws in relation to that whole issue. I don't know if they did it wouldn't surprise me. The last one that I remember was they expanded the gender ideology and ban in public schools. It was just until I think age 8, and I think they expanded it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't remember. I think it may have gone all the way through K through 12. They just banned out gender ideology and CRT stuff altogether, I think.
Ah, crap. I stopped sharing. Here we go. This is from a completely non-biased source, the Human Rights Campaign, or whatever. Florida Senate passes extreme gender-affirming care bill. And it's extreme because this bill would penalize providers by inflicting criminal penalties, including felony penalties, on providers who give gender-affirming care. Stop calling it that. That it's not gender-affirming care.
Yeah, it's literally the opposite. It's literally you're affirming an opposite gender than their body. Period.
Well, it's mutilation in an attempt to appear as a different gender.
Yeah.
You cannot make someone a different gender. At least not with the technology we have today. I know someone's gonna be like, well, they're working on blah blah blah. Like, well, too fucking bad. Like, this is how it is right now.
Until they are able to rewrite your entire DNA code and rebuild your body from it, it's a non-debatable issue. They were still either born a man or a woman. Everything else is just cosmetic.
Yeah, I mean, look at Jazz Jennings. I'm sorry, you cannot create a functioning and we'll just say functioning for now. You cannot create a biologically sound and functioning vagina, uterus, cervix with what they're doing now. You're literally just making a wound. And that wound is constantly 24 hours a day trying to heal itself.
Here's the other thing but again, if you're an adult, have at it. You've had enough time to learn about what you're doing. I mean, hopefully you've had at least good enough doctors to inform you of the risks and what you're getting into. But this was always about the kids.
Yes,
And they purposefully leave that out so that people who are actual adults, and you are free to do that. You are still free to do that. But they want them to feel like they're not allowed to do that anymore so that they would get angry.
Yeah, well, it's like the Don't Say Gay bill. The word gay was never even in it. It literally just
had nothing to do with LGB. The LGB part of the LGBT had nothing to do with that. It was entirely about gender ideology, and I think wasn't critical race theory in that same bill, or was that a separate bill? I'm pretty sure they banned both.
I'm not 100% sure. I know it was definitely, hey, don't talk to kids about your sexuality. And even then, it was only for K through 3.
Right.
And it still didn't stop teachers from having private conversations with the students. It just said, this can't be part of your curriculum.
Right. So I will say, like, while I just said that it wasn't really about the LGB, there has been, of course, that part of the issue in public schools where LGB people are bringing their own sexuality into the classroom. It has no place between a teacher and a student.
No.
Ever. That's predatory behavior. Full stop.
What I don't get is why like drag time story hour, why are these people so insistent on getting approval from fucking children? And the only way I can see that is because they are still children who believe in fantastical, unrealistic shit.
Do you follow James Lindsay at all?
I don't, not closely, but I know who he is.
Okay, he goes into detail about the why, because the nonprofits that are like behind this push, they hide it in plain sight. They are literally pushing for the most outrageous things to push the Overton window. I mean, one, to push the Overton window, but two, also because they want the reaction. They are trying to. This is the Marxism part of the whole conspiracy, where the Marxists are using this as kind of their Trojan horse. But they want a violent reaction from the right or the non-left.
Yeah.
So that they would have an excuse, because since they have the most political power at the moment, to enact further censorship or gun control or whatever they want.
And the thing that pisses me off about that is whenever you have a trans person go in and shoot up a school, they don't raise anywhere near the same kind of ruckus or admonish them in the same way they would someone on the right. Like, you get some right-wing nut job, like literal crazy person who goes out and does something like that, that's all you'll see on the news for weeks and months and years. Like, there's still, like, the January 6th stuff, which was actually coming to look like a Fedsurrection. There were at least 40.
I love it.
Yeah, there were at least 40 undercover agents.
There's got to be a T-shirt in that word somewhere. We got to think of it.
Yeah. Yeah. January 6th. Remember
the Fedsurrection. Remember the Fedsurrection. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but if it comes from the other side, it doesn't get anywhere near the same kind of scrutiny. And they don't blame it on these people who are dipped up on extremely heavy medications or have a high suicide rate, or write a fucking manifesto about why they're doing it and who they're going to do it to. And that's part of the degradation. That's why I still believe we're going to have a split. And I think things will be good for a little bit once the split starts. The non-left will actually, the culture will start to strengthen and we'll get to better things again. The left side of the split is going to think everything's great because now they can get what they want, but they're just going to destroy themselves because they Well, one, they're literally exterminating themselves because they're not having kids. They're spaying and neutering their children.
That's why public education, getting your kids out of public schools is so important. That is how they bypass that. It's because they're teaching your kids.
My daughter
in
told
order
me she
to
wants
replace
to be
their own population. Yeah.
My daughter told me she wants to be homeschooled now. I'm
yes.
so happy.
Yes. So, perfect.
Hopefully everything goes right and I can start that. I just got some stuff. I got a couple of.
Oh my God, Rob. God.
Yep. They're banging them out. They are banging them out. I'm surprised there hasn't been another situation type like that at a protest or something where a bunch of them are involved. I think they're scared to do too much right now because they can't get away with shit anymore. Well, sorry, they can get away with shit,
but they're so glowy. Everybody can spot them.
Yeah, like Patriot Front. Come the fuck on.
Seriously.
The fuck on.
It's like the worst acting. Like they're not even.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like they're not really trying.
Hey,
we deserve better villains than Patriot
That's
Front.
true. Bill Gates is doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, he's a pretty good villain.
The evil billionaire.
So
but yeah, let's start back to Force Mommy. Why is everything about sexuality? Are there no personalities anymore? And man, whenever she said that, it was like, Jesus, yes, this is it. This is the problem. But oh boy. What was the other thing? Yes, we're doing another smooth segue, people. So just hang with us.
You're talking about the Arkansas arrest?
Oh, yeah.
Which is not local to either of us, but a local level issue in Tonatown, Arkansas.
Yeah, let's take everyone take a look at this video. Let me know what you think.
What are y'all doing?
Okay, so guy opens the door, cops just bust right in. They don't say why they're there. They don't announce themselves. They don't give him any charges or anything. They just bust in, push him up against the wall.
Scrolling through my feed when I found this. Imagine there's a knock at the front door. You go to the front door to see who it is. When you open it, it's police officers, and they storm in and start cuffing you up like that. If you're like me, watching this video, you probably started asking, what'd he do? Like, why are
now, and this is what they called a wellness check, by the way. That's their excuse. They said they were there for a wellness check because of some hearsay issue that there was child abuse.
And yeah, it's got to be some serious stuff, right? Got to be some serious shit. So let's hear what it is.
Are they there? What is the reason that they're doing that? I'm going to play the rest of the video. And if you listen closely, you're going to hear the terrible crime that he is accused of.
For what?
Body art without a license.
Did you catch that? And now they're mad because he laughed at them.
What's really going on here? You got him?
Yes, I got all of it.
Guys, you're in the cameras. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, so body art without a license. What did he do?
His son's ear without a license. Takes 3 cops.
Piercing his son's ear without a license. Totally justified, right? Guys, this is what corruption looks like. And this is why I'm telling you, the cops are there to fuck you, and it's not their fault. It is the fault of the people we keep voting for. Which is why we need the hot trans like Forest Mommy in office, okay? We gotta get her in there.
Yes, 100%.
Like that's, and what's really sad is this shit happens a lot. Like especially the child welfare system and DSS. It's a fucking joke. It is a fucking joke. And if anyone's ever checked out, God, I can't remember his name. He's the dad in Texas who got his son taken away because the mother wanted to transition him and he didn't want it to happen. And he lost full custody of his son. The wife ran off to California with the kid. And now he can only see his son like once a month or something with court supervision. And he proved that the court systems are incentivized to create division in the family. They are incentivized because a judge's retirement salary is based on the amount of money that goes into child support systems and adoption systems, divorce systems. And they all get kickbacks from that. That is why dads especially get fucked by the court system when it comes to any type of family law or anything like that. And that's why you get people like that who get arrested for piercing their kid's ear at home who requested it. So instead of the dad having to go and pay like $40 or $50 for someone to do it, he did it at home. And yeah, this is what you get.
By the
Hey,
way,
what's up, Flush?
On Rumble, the comments aren't coming through to StreamYard, just so you know, because I see that none of those comments have made it. So Chrissy Mears Boobs is over there, along with Rob.
Boobs. Yes, chest bump. Yeah, less government, people. Less government.
One day I'll get you saying no government.
I mean, well, you have to have some kind of.
Do you?
Yeah, you have to have some kind of community council, right?
Well,
I mean, ideally, everyone should be able to respect everyone else, but that's not how it goes. Like,
so it's not that there's no enforcement mechanism. It's just that that enforcement mechanism is now open to the market, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm not going to go into a full like Rothbard lecture here, but anarchists aren't just no government and then it's just a free for all. No, that there's a system in place still to enforce the rules, but you're basically getting rid of the lawmakers who are making up the rules, and you're relying on like common law and for precedent to kind of make determinations on the court system. And then you're also opening up to the private sector to participate, so that competition, because the best antidote to corruption is competition.
Yeah.
And so you're opening up to competition in a way. Now, would that play out? I don't know, but I'd certainly give that a try over what we have.
Well,
and I also recognize that, our culture isn't really ready for it. You can't just do that overnight.
nah, yeah, you have to slowly taper down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But to do that, you have to taper up first, and it starts with the local stuff, and then you build that up to the state, and then you build that up to the federal.
Yeah, there's some anarchists and agorists will also put this out there. It's just like when you're voting, you're just reinforcing the system that's oppressing you. So why do you do it? Michael Heiss, who is the person who created the Mises Caucus and the Libertarian Party, had the best response. He said, abolition precedes anarchism. You have to infiltrate the government in order to start dismantling it and getting rid of all of the flack. And the thing is like, okay, being a minarchist, or if we were in a minarchist society, meaning you had the smallest possible government that you could do, it's still far and away better than what we have. And like I wouldn't complain if we actually got there, but I would also still keep warning people. It's just like, we started off with a minarchist country and it still got out of control at some point. So we need to learn those lessons. It's just like, if you're going to have some level of government, you need to find out how are you going to keep it from getting back to what seems to always happen.
Yeah, I think the best thing about when America was first formed is it was basically a huge group of people who had broken away from the government already.
Yeah.
And they hadn't set up complete control yet in the area. Our problem now is the overlord, there's nowhere left to run. Like we have to fight this.
We were the utopia that you were supposed to run to get away from oppressive tyranny. And now we are the oppressive tyranny.
Yep. And the only way to change it now is you have to change it from the inside out. You have to do like these Marxists have done. You have to infiltrate. You have to control the narrative. And unfortunately, you have to have money and resources to do that. So, well, you don't have to actually. You just have to get people into the positions, and you have to bypass the gatekeepers. If you can get the gatekeepers out of the way, and you get the local stuff going again, and getting people in who do even 5 or 10% better over the course of their terms, that'll build up over time. Like, it's not, like Crash said, it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not even going to be a 4-year thing. It's going to be a decades thing, but you have to start, and like you have to chip away at it and chip away at it and chip away at it. And otherwise, the government malfeasance and corruption and bullshit machine where they're screwing you out of every penny they can while they stock up on everything and prepare to go to war in order to make you think that the problem's not them, that it's the boogeymans.
All right, I'm going to bring something up because Boobs was asking if there was a press release from the police department that made this arrest, and yes, they did.
Can you zoom in on that?
Can I zoom in? Yes.
Yay.
Okay.
Let's hear. Oh, wait, before we read this, here's bullshit in real time. I'm going to
yes, bullshit in real time. Okay, so in reference to conducting a welfare concern on a juvenile male who resides in Tawna Town, the SPD's resource officer, so it was the Springdale, which is the neighboring town, a resource officer, I think at the high school, that basically ratted this out. Stated a male juvenile went to school with a piercing in his left ear while sitting in a class, talking with other students and the teacher present. And this is such BS. The juvenile male stated his dad was drunk and put him in a chokehold and shoved the piercing in his ear. Do you believe that? Do you believe that that's actually what that he said that? Do you know who's actually the cameraman on this video? You can hear his voice. It's the 16-year-old boy who said, "I wanted the piercing." He was yelling at the cops, "What are you doing?"
Like, oh my God. I'm willing to bet what happened was the kid, like, to keep the kid from pulling away, he just made sure he held his head still so he didn't end up stabbing him in the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid was probably just over-exaggerating shit.
He's obviously not disturbed by it. He doesn't seem to be traumatized by the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have even been a joke to him. It's hard to say, without interviewing the kid to see, like, did you say something along these lines that the resource officer may have overheard? Let's see. So Tawna Town officers responded and came in contact with Jeremy, who's the father. Officers did not explain the reasons for their presence. Bullshit. Also, they misspelled it. That's the wrong kind of presence. Like, I would accept what they were doing if they actually had presence, because that'd be a good reason to be there. But no, they. you can tell from the video that they just barged right in and cuffed him immediately. It was almost like the level of a no-knock raid. Jeremy admitted to piercing his son's ear. Not at the beginning, because he didn't even know why they were there. This is like, doesn't line up at all.
Yeah, they didn't tell him until after they had already handcuffed him.
Yeah, none of this lines up. We have video of the entire incident. Officers attempted to investigate the alleged crime further, but Jeremy refused to allow officers to speak with his son and refused to answer questions. This time, officers left the residence without incident. What? That doesn't even make any sense.
So this is where they get into the law on it.
Right, so they contacted the county prosecutor, and this is the law. A person shall not perform body art on a person under 16 years of age, regardless of parental consent. So maybe he's 15. I don't know. It is unlawful to perform body art in any unlicensed facility. By the way, somebody posted the rest of this statute, and there's a specific exception for ear piercings.
Really?
Violation of this law. This law is a Class D felony. Are you fucking kidding me? And then, of course, because this is what all prosecutors do. They'll pile on the charges because they just want to see what sticks. Endangering the welfare of a minor, 3rd degree. Refusal to submit to arrest. I wouldn't either. Obstructing governmental operations. Go fuck yourselves. Okay, this is implying that there were 2 times that the officers came. I guess we would have to ask the family if there's any truth to that. Did the officers show up before and then walk away and then come and barge in? It doesn't make any sense, because if they confronted him about the ear piercing, then why was there shock about the arrest for it? So yeah, I'm calling BS on that too.
Oh, they're fucked.
Oh yeah.
They are really fucked because they, they should. Okay, I have. Oh, okay, yeah, we gotta look at this. Pull this up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, this police department's fucked. 2019 Arkansas Code, Title 20, Public Health and Welfare, Subtitle 2, Health and Safety, Chapter 27, Miscellaneous Health and Safety Provisions, Subchapter 15, Body Piercing, Branding, and Tattooing. Unlawful to perform body art on a person under 18 years of age, documentation and consent. Section A, sub 1. A person under 18 years of age shall not undergo body art unless written consent is given by the person's parent or legal guardian. The parent or legal guardian is present during the procedure. Now, see, they might be able to get him on. But the reason for being there,
it says that regardless of consent for person under age 16.
Section B says a person shall not perform body art on a person under age 16, regardless of parental consent. And you see that they cut that off in the thing you pulled up, except when piercing the earlobe. Yeah, I would sue the shit out of this.
Yes, I hope they do. I'm glad they're getting a lot of attention. In fact, I'm going to post their Facebook so that people have the option. Go over there and troll them, please. They deserve it.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. Yes, Rob, you are correct. Wiener chopping is fine, but don't dare pierce an ear. Yep. Yeah. That they should definitely sue for that. And because, well, the thing about the even piercing or doing body art without a license, it's not a, oh, they're doing it untrained thing. It's literally, it's about money. That's it.
Yep.
And
Because they get to
piercing
charge for that license.
Yeah.
It's all about money.
Well, and then you have to pay revenue to the state, because it says later like that the fine is 50% of the income. Yeah.
It's literally the mafia as saying that you owe us a cut.
A fine collected under this section, less court fees shall be allocated. Oh, okay, no, never mind. Oh no, never mind. I read that wrong. It's just saying how it's divvied up. My bad.
Oh, okay.
But there is a fine, which
There's always a fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this is fucking proof. Like they will come into your home and do what they want. They will knock on your door and they don't give a shit. And hopefully this is dropped because it's ridiculous. There are plenty of people who get their ears pierced. Sorry, but it's a relatively easy thing to do as long as you sanitize correctly. Like,
they're up to 1,300 comments on their press release, by the way. It's glorious.
That is fucking beautiful.
I love it. I mean, it's gotten a lot of attention. I've even seen the Hodge twins have shared it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna get a lot of press.
Yeah, this is gonna be hilarious. They're gonna get their shit pushed in.
Yeah, I love the reference there. Haven't seen that movie in a while.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. We are going to be talking about some Dr. Fauci. And
right, so Boobs headed back on over. He just came.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me put the link in.
Yeah. Hey, puppy.
Wow. Guys, we're gonna go to Rumble for this one, because you know how YouTube is. They are overlords who do not like the good graces and name of all that is holy, His Eminence, Pope Fauci, to be discredited or disgraced in any way or criticized.
Pope Fauci, all hail.
All hail. He is the science. He is
the
the
science.
Get it fucking
all
right.
Worship the science.
God. Fucking plebeians. But yeah, head over there. We'll give you a few minutes. We'll take a little break, and then we'll get you going again. So for now on YouTube, we are going to log it off. The Rumble link is in the chat, and we'll see you there in just a couple minutes. Later, YouTube. Bum, bum, bum. Wait a minute.
What's up?
How do we?
It's up on the top right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just hit remove.